Hello and welcome to another Ecom Ops podcast. Today's guest doesn't just design in 3D, he redefines how we see products. So from flight simulators to fashion runways, then the chief creative officer at London Dynamics has spent 3 decades, wow, 3 decades, that's insane, in the future of visualization. So as a former 3D leader at IKEA and now chair of the 3D commerce working group at Kronos, then is at the heart of retail revolution powered by AR and pixel perfect storytelling. So if you're ready to step into the future of e-commerce, I think this is a very special podcast for you. Welcome to the show, Daniel. Great to have you.
Thank you, Norbert. It's very, very exciting and nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm absolutely happy because 3D is a new topic in this podcast. We never talked about this. It's so interesting, actually, and yeah, I'm more than happy to learn more. So, tell me a bit about yourself and about what you're doing at London Dynamics, and yeah, where all this 3D enthusiasm came from.
Right, sure. Well, actually, the thing that really triggered it for me was the original Tron movie by Disney. That's what made me want to do computer graphics when I was a child. And then, but you couldn't really study computer graphics at college and at university back then. Yes, I'm that old. And some of my older colleagues will know about that. And then I wanted to do games, but that was quite hard to get into, especially around 3D. So I started off in flight simulation. Then I moved into games for a few years. And then I guess that just moved quite nicely into visualization and computer graphics and e-commerce. It's kind of all quite nicely tied together. And then now, so I ran 3D at IKEA for nearly 4 years, I guess. And then now I'm Chief Creative Officer here at London Dynamics, where we build 3D visualization experiences, both on web and in AR and also in XR, for a whole variety of different clients, from gym equipment clients to car manufacturers to furniture clients. So yeah, that's it really.
Awesome. What do you do for those clients? Do you just design for the objects, or is it something that is e-commerce related?
It's always e-commerce related. What happens with most of our clients is they've usually got a physical product and they want to digitize it. So they want to take a sofa and be able to move it around and put different fabrics on, or they want to take a car and you want to be able to change the wheels or change the body paint, which is really hard to do with just 2D images. But at least in 3D, you can move it around, zoom in on the headlights, click on the wheel, change the bodywork, because it actually communicates the physical product to customers much better digitally, because they can see all the options that are available to them. That's basically what we do. So like if you've got a piece of gym equipment, you can customize it, you can see it animating, which you can't do just from one stock photograph.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really love the idea of having something like that in an e-commerce store. I'm a bit wondering, especially when we talk about e-commerce. I mean, the typical store that I hear in the podcast is Shopify. Yeah, so people have a Shopify store. I often hear Magento, sometimes WooCommerce. Yep. Does your art, your 3D renderings work in all different kind of stores, or do I need a special e-commerce solution to make that happen also in my store?
No, you don't need a special e-commerce solution to make that work in your store. We integrate with the providers you just talked about. Those are more the basket functionality and how to connect to the product and then commit to buy through those functions. But then what we do is we build the visualization part of it. So we'll have you can either use our platform as is, or you can integrate it, almost white label it, so it becomes part of your product pages. So, when you go to most websites and you get an image and you can go left or right, our platform will usually be part of that image carousel, as we call it. And that's where the 3D model will load up. And then when you add that to basket, that's where it connects to things like Shopify, and you can see the 3D model through there. So there's no, we focus a lot of our energy around standardization. So a lot of our technology is built around standards, and I know we'll probably come to that later. And that's really important because it means you get the same experience on mobile as you do on different web browsers, different platforms, different laptops. because you don't want to have a different experience from different platforms. So it's important that it's something that you can integrate and easily use.
Yeah, and this is what I just wanted to ask next, to be honest, because it's a very important thing that we have most visitors, especially in B2C, coming from smartphones. And in B2B, it's also trending towards smartphones at the moment, but it's still more desktop. So the overall experience needs to be the same. And
Yeah.
when we have 3D elements, it's typically also the performance that is coming to a topic for sites. How do you deal with that?
That's a great question. I mean, traditionally, if you're working, if your mobile phone is 10 years old, then of course the processing in that phone is going to struggle, maybe with more modern based visualization. So if I've got a 3D model of a car and it's quite heavy because you've got a lot of detail in there, then it might struggle. But on more modern devices, it's also fine. But what we're finding is that the technology in the hardware on laptops, on phones, or on computers is constantly evolving. And our job is to keep up with that evolution. So what we pride ourselves in London Dynamics on is making sure that we build our assets and our experiences to a really high level. So as the evolution of the technology continues, so do our models, and so does our experience. We could build a 1 megabyte, 2 megabyte file that would load instantly on a really old device and load even quicker than instantly on a modern device. But we like to try and push the boundaries a bit so that we're always trying to push the quality level, because the ultimate aim, of course, is to have a photorealism between physical and digital. So you don't know any difference. And you won't get that with a traditional 500 kilobyte 3D model or a 1 meg 3D model. So we push it up to like 10 meg, 12 meg or something like that, so that it looks a lot better for it. So it's got more detail to it.
Awesome. For which kind of customer is this? So, I mean, I'm a startup, for instance, have a store, want to have 3D models. What do I need to calculate? What is at which point does it make sense to consider this?
That's a really good question as well. You're good at this. You've done this before. I think it depends on the size of your SKUs, as in like your product library. So if you've got, mind you, then saying that, we've got some clients who've got very limited amount of SKUs, got very few SKUs, but what they really want to do is communicate their products visually to companies, to their customers, and internally as well. So not only just business to consumer, but business to business as well. So it's really important to feel that you can. It doesn't really necessarily matter how many products you've got, I guess. It's more about what you want to communicate. Yeah. If you have 2 or 3 sofas in your range, but you've got it available in 70 fabrics, that's really hard to photograph and very expensive to photograph. But you could build one 3D model of that and put all those materials on, and consumers can look at all those variations. In IKEA, for example, we did a bit of a test, because one thing we did is we got the online catalog and the original physical catalog to about 90% in CGI, in computer graphics, rather than physically photographed. And the reason for that was because of cost, but also scalability and sustainability. So if you're a company like IKEA, which actually doesn't have that many products in its range, not like I took, say, some like companies like Lowe's who have hundreds and thousands of different products, or Target in America, they looked at, why do you want to digitize something that's so physical? But because you can actually just swap out the materials, you can swap out doors, the units. If you're a designer of a room and you've got a herringbone floor, but actually you want to have tiles, that's very expensive, very time consuming to replace physically. But in 3D, we can do that almost instantaneously and then redo different angles and different shots. So it becomes a lot more creative as well. And you can communicate your product in different ways that maybe you didn't think about through 3D than just photography.
I fully agree, and I love that idea, because it saves, of course, time. It saves money. If it saves money, it increases profit. It increases profit for the customer, and on the other hand, it reduces the price for the consumer, because you have to give something to the consumers as well. So it's a nice approach, in my opinion.
I mean, just one thing as well, just something came to my mind as well. We got one client who used to sell a certain product range, and they would focus on the manufacturing on that product range. But since a lot of their customers now use the configurator and they customize the bicycles through that. And they've actually changed their manufacturing process around that. So they used to go, we're only going to make these are our biggest sellers. But actually, the consumers changed their biggest sellers because they were customizing and putting different wheels and different components on. They're like, oh my God, actually people want this instead. So it changed their manufacturing as well. So it had a big bearing on how they design and how they build as well, which was really interesting.
It's interesting what happens there, yeah. What do I need to get such 3D models on my store? What do I need as a basic when I want to start with that?
Well, I think firstly, you need to have a platform to use where you can host these 3D models. There are standardized off-the-shelf ones, but they often don't come with a lot of the bells and whistles, so to speak. So there are companies like London Dynamics who will be able to, you can go to and they can give you that platform. Of course, we've spent many, many years refining that platform so it's efficient, it's easy to install, it's easy to put into your website, so you don't have to worry about all of that. But then there's also the content part of it. So there's tech and there's content. So you can either have photographs of your product. Some of our customers only have product photographs. So they'll have it in an environment. They'll take 3 or 4 photographs, and then we'll build a 3D model of that to the right scale with all the right materials. It will go through a quality assurance process with the customers to make sure they're happy with how it looks. Then it will go into the platform. Some of our customers have a real-time, like an interactive model, as well as a rendered image-based photograph. So some of our customers have been replacing traditional photography with that same 3D model as well. So it's not difficult to get into. There are companies like us around who can really support you on that journey. You know, we've got a lot of experience in this field, and customers can come to us and ask for advice on how to digitize their physical products. And actually, I'd say at least half of our consumers have never been in 3D before. And actually, it's a game changer for them. They're seeing different types of consumer coming to them because they can interact with their products. So it's not difficult to get into.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's very interesting. I mean, if we talk about 3D, we also need to talk about AR. What do, let's say, companies benefit from that? It's maybe already a second question, but I put it together because it's interesting. I mean, when I go to Amazon and I am looking for a TV or any kind of thing that I put into my room, in my living room, for instance, Amazon typically offers me the possibility to check out how this TV looks like on my wall. When I try this, it seldom works as it should. Yeah, I'm not happy with that. It's my opinion. Either the TV is too big, I don't know. They're just kidding. How do you deal with that? Is this a real request? Do people have problems with that? How do they measure that it really works and brings an impact to the company?
Yeah, there's quite a few things to this. I'll give it, when we developed IKEA Place in IKEA, which I think is probably the most well-known AR-based furniture application, it didn't necessarily result in huge amounts of sales for IKEA. What it did is it gave people the ability to see these different products, which they'd never even thought about, in their room. So there's a kind of try to fit scenario. So the worst scenario you can have as a consumer is you go to a store, you see a 3-seater or a 2-seater, so you think, yeah, that's going to fit. You measure, you get it home, you're like, oh my God, it doesn't fit. So AR brings that into your space. I recently bought a sound bar for my front room, and I used Amazon's AR functionality, and I saw it in place. And it was great for that. But I mean, I think one thing to your second point there is, it's not always obvious how to use AR, how to place things on walls or place things on floors. And I think the technology side of it hasn't necessarily been well understood. And I think it's hugely underused. So what we do with a lot of our customers is we focus web first, and we offer AR to everybody as part of the experience. But we encourage them to use it as a test if it fits. So they'll use the platform and move it around, look at the fabrics, look at the cushions, look at the colors, choose their options. And then to throw it into AR is more about, does this fit in my space? How does this look in my space? Because there is also some technical things with AR. that AR will change the lighting based on your environment. So it might change how the product looks. So if I'm looking at a specific color product on the website, I put it in AI, it looks different. And there's only so much that companies like us can do around that, because that's in the phone.
Yeah.
And what you don't want to do is you want to make your experience native. So you don't want to have people to have to download your AR app, because it becomes very big and it becomes very tough, and people don't want to do that. So you're kind of reliant on the technology being capable of showing it, the technology also making it easy to understand how to have that AR experience. But we have found that when people do understand it, it's a very powerful tool, but a complement to the web-based experience. I haven't seen that many figures that would indicate that people will buy purely based on AR. I think people go in the web experience, they look at pictures, they look at a 3D model, they configure, and that's their committing experience. And AR is a bonus experience where they go, oh, look, and here it is on this table. Look how cool is this? But there's a lot
that's true. That's true. Yeah, it's nice to have.
Failures, like when you try to do like wear-ons, like we've been doing a lot of work on wearables, like getting glasses or wristwatches to wear, and it's clunky, it moves about, it's not particularly. So again, it's hey, this is a cool experience. But in order for me to commit to buy that watch online, I want to be able to look at the details of it, look how it moves, look at the features, which you do through a web platform.
Yeah, that's a very good answer for that. Thanks so much. Now we have all these buzzwords. We have 3D, we have AR. Let's go through the next buzzword. It's AI. How or which role actually do you think plays AI in this 3D AR game nowadays?
Very good. I think AI is a very interesting space when it comes to 3D. In my previous role, before I joined actually at London Dynamics, between IKEA and London Dynamics, I worked at an AI-based company for 2 years trying to look at 3D generation through AI. And it's a very interesting space because it's got a lot of potential, but it doesn't quite deliver. And I don't mean that platform, I mean any kind of AI-based platform. It's like when you watch videos made of AI, you look at them and think,
you see it. So it's not like taking a picture on my smartphone and dropping it to ChatGPT and say, let's make an 3D model out of it, please. I need AutoCAD.
Yeah, and I think it's not quite there on the machine learning side of things yet, where it's like really smooth and it's identical to the product. It doesn't do transparency and these kind of things very well. And I think that, so what we've been doing with AI, AI is very good in the 2D field right now.
Yeah.
And we've been using it as a complement to our 3D workflows. So, for example, if I've got a car and a client wants to render a car on a beach or a city scene or a road, we will use AI as part of that complement to that workflow, for example. Mm-hmm. So rather than having to photograph a beach scene or go away and find the perfect scenario, AI can generate that 2D complement to our 3D scene. But I think it's still got quite a way to go before it sort of says, hey, here's a 3D model of a car and here's this. Because when we have been doing tests with that, it never looks quite right. It doesn't quite, because it's all machine learning based, it has to understand, it tries to gather as much information as possible, but actually there's been a human who's crafted that specific product and it doesn't necessarily generate that perfectly every time. And you have to do a lot of assistance with it. And at some point you think, oh, it'd be quicker if I made it from scratch.
Yeah, I agree. I have the same experience for other topics as well. I mean, it's a good helper. AI is really good helper. Starting from the ground up, getting ideas, analyzing something. Yeah. But when it comes to delivering results, it's still a human that needs to be a bit in touch at least.
Yeah, I mean, and my wife works in a creative industry in agencies, and they use it all the time for storyboarding, conceptualizing.
Yeah.
But when they go to print, they do it by hand.
Yeah.
Because absolutely. You can't get that quality and that refinement that you need through it. And yes, there's a lot of movement in that space, but they find that they get the results they want by putting the human eye and the human brain into that. But the AI goes, hey, here's a million ideas for you by the press of a button. And that's brilliant. That's
brilliant. Absolutely.
accelerated their work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you are the one that said every pixel tells a story. So can you give us an example of a product visualization that nailed the story? Do you have something in mind?
Wow, that's a tricky question.
Yeah, I'm known for that. Sorry.
No. It's very good. Very good. I guess to say every pixel tells a story is there's sometimes there is. I guess there are some experiences that have taken a lot of curation and a lot of manual work in the background to produce an end result that maybe looks the same as another end result. So, and I think that one thing we're really trying to do is push the boundaries of photorealism with the aid of technology. So when you say pixels tell a story, I think it's been a really interesting journey for 3D in e-commerce, especially because there was a time when it was all about efficiency and getting something up that would load really quickly. And now it's more about how do we achieve that photorealism and push the boundaries of technology. So I think that what we're trying to do with pixels, I'm trying to use that word here, what we do with pixels nowadays is try and make them more refined and use more technology to make them look more photoreal. So you're there's a uncanny realism. I don't know if you've ever seen the uncanny realism valley, for example. There's a really fine line between when you look at something, you think, I think that's computer generated or that's a real photograph.
Yeah.
And I think that fine line is getting smaller and smaller.
Oh, yeah.
As we're getting further along. And AI has been a big thing in this as well.
Totally.
Especially around 2D. But I think in 3D, with the real-time, the interactive things, we're really reliant on the technology that's in the laptops, in the mobile phones, to give us that freedom to be really creative, to push those pixels. So that uncanny valley gets smaller and smaller. Because what you don't want to do is give a client a 1 minute loading experience and have that ultra photorealism because it's unusable.
Yeah, it's unusable. I mean, you have 3 to 7 seconds until someone says loading too long. Right. So, and this is where you need to find the spot. What's the biggest myth about AR and 3D in e-commerce that needs to be debunked right away?
I think biggest myth around it. I think that there is. I think when we all onboarded with AR at the very beginning, we thought this was the future of putting 3D objects in front of people. And I think that traction has gone. I think that people still use it. And I don't think it's necessarily promoted or communicated enough. But I think augmented reality through a mobile phone, it's a strange one. I think we were hoping so much more from it and it never really happened. But I think what we're going to start to see, well, in fact, I know what we're going to start to see. I've been advocate for this for a long time. Is we're going to start to see more augmented reality through wearables. So as you start getting lenses, not big Apple Vision headsets, because that's ridiculous to walk around the street with one of those on. But as it comes more in here, there's some big names who are working on some really cutting edge devices. And then AR becomes a complement to your life. And then more and more companies will want their products in AR. They want them AR ready. Yeah. Because I think when you're going through this, I'll give you an example. Like when we were in IKEA, we looked at how do we do the IKEA assembly instructions in AR? And it never worked. And the reason...
But this is a cool idea.
And the reason it didn't work wasn't because the technology wasn't there. It's because what do you do when you're looking at it and you can see the product in the room, and then it tells you what to do next. You put your phone down, you go over there, you do it, you come back, your screen's locked, or your tracking has moved. You're like, oh. And we did loads of work with it, and then we realized this will only ever work when it's here.
Yeah.
When I don't get out of that experience.
Idea is great. I mean, you have glasses on, and it's, I think, no problem if you just wear glasses. It's like a watch, you know?
Yeah.
It's like a watch. You wear glasses, and you have AR in the glass, maybe connected with your smartphone, and you browse the store and you say, show me that in AR, and boom, it's there. And cool idea, really. Looks could change how people interact in e-commerce.
Well, I think what we will see in the future, and I don't think it's that far a future, is the kind of tail off of mobile phones, the tail off of these physical things, because it'll all be here.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to walk around, even if it's contact lenses. It doesn't have to be big frame glasses, because that will evolve as well. There was a company I always followed for many years called Mojo Vision, and they had these contact lenses that let you, when you're running, you could track the roads, and they were here. But people were apprehensive about putting things in their eyes. But when it became wearable, like Snap have done some great work with this, working with with Ray-Ban, for example, and get it on there. Meta have as well. So when it becomes here and you become immersed into that just naturally, I think then people go, oh, this is what augmented reality is. So I think the AR on phones was a great idea, but I think it tailed off. But I think we'll see the immersion of it all being wearable. And then all of our consumers will want all their cars in AR, all the furniture in AR. I want to suddenly walk down the street and see one of my cars in the road. I want to see it in my driveway. I want to walk into my living room and go AR on, and it will change all of my room to be IKEA furniture, And this isn't that far away.
Yeah.
Because we can scan, we can track, we can GPS, we can navigate, we can display 3D objects here. But it's the technology. When the technology gets better and better and faster and quicker and smaller, when it goes into a bridge of glasses, I think these will be here.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to add something, what we have in real life already, and it's not AR, it's not augmented reality, it's just a top-up display on the windows of the cars, which is it's a similar experience, but it's just the information. It's so much easier to navigate because you are looking on the road and you see when you need to turn right, you need to see when you turn left, directly on the road, you see when you're too fast. And it saves you some tickets, but it's actually something like that,
No, but I agree with you. And actually on that, I remember when they first came around, you saw them in the early versions. They were really pixelated. They were a bit hit and miss. You couldn't work out where you were looking. And now look at the evolution of the eye tracking with that work. You see some of the stuff I'm not mentioning. It's like I immediately think of the one I saw from BMW, where you're in the car, and wherever you are in the car, it's keeping it in front of you around the screen, and it's on the road at all times. It's clear, it's crystal, it's not intrusive. So as the technology has evolved, it's got better.
Yeah.
And in a few years' time, every car will have them.
Yeah. It will be standard.
Yeah, it'll be standard. Why have a dashboard here at all? Just have it on your screen.
Yeah.
That's brilliant, right? That's perfect.
That's what we want to see in future. Yeah, to have helpers actually that make our work, our jobs easier and our sales better. And that's I think.
I mean, when it's here, walking around London, I don't want to navigate to the pub, and it's like left here, right here. At the moment, I'm looking at my watch and it's buzzing, and I can't work out what's going on. And I'm looking at my phone and walking into lampposts.
As long as beers don't get virtual, everything is fine. Not a pint, thank you.
Exactly.
Okay, let's come to the last round of questions. Daniel, who has taught you the most about e-commerce in your career? Where do you have learned the most?
Oh, I have to say IKEA, because it was a real eye-opener and a game changer for me working with them for a few years. Not only a really nice company to work for, but also just the people understood the retail sector incredibly well, but yet wanted to always be innovative. They always wanted to be cutting edge and innovative. So I learned a lot through 3D in e-commerce, through IKEA. I met some incredibly talented people. And there's a reason why in my industry, they're probably the most highly regarded 3D company in retail, because they were always trying to innovate and be cutting edge. And it was great to be part of that journey. So that's where I think I definitely learned the most. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for that. And now we do have a very special, namely, we ask you a question from very fresh from yesterday's podcast. So we always ask our interview partners, can you ask the next one a question? And this one is for you. It's from Paul Grave, the general manager at eCommerce. And he wants to know, How do you ensure that what your developers are building truly aligns with what the product team and ultimately your customers actually want and need? Beyond just following the backlog, how do you know you're building the right thing?
That's a great question. Something that we pride ourselves on very much at London Dynamics is having a very personal relationship with our clients. So we don't build like a fully bespoke experience for everyone, but I'd say every experience we built is bespoke per client. They all want something unique, something different. They know their customers, we don't. And so it's our job to understand their client base, understand what their needs are from a business, and give them that experience that makes their life a lot easier. I'm sure a lot of companies would say the same, but actually I'm sure that I know the feedback, from all of our clients has been they've loved that. We have regular weekly touch points with them. We ask for insights and information from them. What would they love to see? What would they like to, what do they need from us? And then actually quite a lot of time we evolve our platform based on that information. Because even though we're a bit of a SaaS company, we don't just go, right, in 6 months' time, we're going to launch this and that'll be the same experience for everybody. So our clients will go, actually, what I really need is I need a modular configurator that gives me this, and this. Yeah, that's fine. We'll do that for you. And we give that to them. But what's really interesting is that when we do this, sometimes we have four companies who are in the same sector and they go, oh, we saw you did this for them. Can we have that as well? Like, oh, yeah, sure. But why didn't you do this for us? Well, you never asked us to do this for you. What, can you do that? Yeah, we can do that for you. So we do that and then we do something else. And then they see that. And it's quite an interesting becomes a bit of a competitive space between themselves based upon us. But that's what I think, in answer to his question, I think that's what we do. We listen, we learn, and we adapt, and we support our clients.
It's a very good approach. Listen to the clients, and that's cool. Now it's your turn. What's the question for my next guest?
And what does your next guest do? So I know what to ask.
I don't know.
Oh,
you can actually ask anything. I had one question: what's your favorite ice cream? But I don't let that a second time.
I tell you what, then. How about this? As we mentioned it earlier, what do they see the future of AI is, and how it impacts their industry?
Perfect question. I love that. Taken, and I will let you know what my next guest told about that.
I love that. That's brilliant.
Daniel, thank you so much. Thanks, guys, from digital showrooms to AR-powered product stories. Then just gave us a glimpse of the future where buying isn't just clicking, experiencing. So thanks so much for helping us to see a bit beyond of those screens. And it was a lovely podcast for today. Thank you so much for your time. And guys, next time, jump in. Give us a review if you like this. Come back to the next episode. See you soon on the eCommerce podcast.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And that's it for this episode of the eCommerce podcast. If you enjoyed listening and would like us find and interview more e-commerce operations experts, please search for eCommerce podcast in your favorite podcast listening app and then subscribe, rate, and review. Until next time.